بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My dearest sisters, welcome back to our weekly session, but it's going to be our last session before we break up for winter break. And inshallah, we will finish, inshallah, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We intend to finish Surah Maryam today. We started it last week. And we had a good feedback from sisters, and I hope and pray that we will be gaining some lessons for us, inshallah. Going to Surah Maryam's first part, I mean, I can't see the attendees list, so I don't know if there's any newcomer, but let's try to jog our memories a little bit. It was revealed in Mecca before the first immigration to Abyssinia. The surah starts with Zakaria alayhi salam making a secret dua. And what was he making the dua? He was making a dua for a son who can carry on his mission of serving Allah's religion. Because we were talking about that Zakaria alayhi salam was the keeper of the temple in Jerusalem. And when he looked around his community, he would see people are so much engrossed in the worldly businesses and the worldly things, and he could not see anybody fit to carry on his work and his mission of being, the keeper of the temple and spreading the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he longed for an heir, a son, basically, but he's never put it into words. And he was quite old, and his wife was past the giving birth age. So, logically, he would know that he cannot have a child. But he did make a secret dua. I would ask a question to sisters who were already present last week. What inspired him in this situation to make a dua for a son? Why did he make a dua now at this time of his life, knowing that he cannot have a son? He's too old and his wife is way beyond childbearing age. What inspired Zakaria alayhi salam? Those sisters who were present last week, if anybody wants to unmute their mic and just say, I don't mind if your children are crying, really, I don't mind. I think I really salute you guys with the children and with everything. You still want to learn, and that is such a huge blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah reward you all. Yeah.
Bluetooth disconnected.
Assalamu alaikum, Sababaji.
Walaikum assalam, Kamni.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, Sababaji. So it was because he saw the miracles and the belief, the taqwa Maryam alayhi salam had from Allah, and he was feared that there was no one to take over when he passed away because of there was no leadership to take over when he passed away. So that's why he made a dua to Allah to have someone to lead, but he didn't know that he was going to have a child.
Yeah, I mean, that I've already said that he knew his situation, but you mentioned that it was seeing the taqwa and miracles happening in Maryam alayhi salam's room. What was the miracle that he
saw? Can I add that? Can I add something there?
Yeah, go on.
So basically, there was food and fruits that was out of season, and then he asked that, oh, Maryam, where did you get these fruits from, because they are not in season? So then she said that Allah provides, and you can ask Allah anything and it's not difficult for Allah to do anything that
Yes,
is
subhanallah.
impossible.
This is
Nothing is impossible. So.
That's right. This is what inspired him. And isn't it enough a lesson for us? Sometimes, we think it is just not possible. There's no point asking. Why not? Allah is the owner of not this world, but world's universe. So this was his inspiration to us. And then, Jazakumullah khair, Sister Kamni and Rim. And then we carry on, recapping last week, we carry on with the story of Maryam alayhi salam, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the angel to give her the good news of her conceiving Isa alayhi salam, and how she was shocked by this. How can this be possible when no man touches me and I am not an unchaste woman? She was shocked, and in her shock, she started defending herself. I'm not an unchaste woman. I'm not that type of woman who would conceive without having married to a man. But then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirms that he can and he will. And after the birth of baby Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made baby Isa talk to the crowd and told them he is the appointed prophet of Allah, and asked them to follow one true God. So he started dawah and his mission from the cradle. But what happened? And there was a huge crowd out there seeing this child, that Maryam, such a pious woman who has spent all her life in temple, has brought. This was a shock to the whole community. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Maryam alayhi salam, you don't have to say anything. You just be quiet and just point to the baby. And the baby talked, and the baby told the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are now Allah has made mandatory on Isa alayhi salam and his followers. But what this huge crowd did, they knew it's a miracle, but they rejected it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here showed them that the one who can clearly make a baby talk, and baby talk, sensible talk, can also make a virgin conceive and give birth to a child. It's not difficult for your creator. But as usual with all the prophets, here also the people rejected this miracle. Okay. Now, what were the lessons from Maryam alayhi salam's story? We could not cover this one, so we decided to do it this week. Inshallah, we hope and pray that we cover everything today. Trial brings one closer to Allah. Yes, there was a scholar who said that, should I have known that how close I become to Allah when in my time of need, I would have prayed to Allah, never give me an ease. This is how that scholars see his relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, of course, our relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always strengthened when we are in trouble, when we need something, or when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us in any test or trial. May Allah make it easy for us to go through his tests and trial. Another thing is patience. We can be patient, but that doesn't mean we don't have grief. We might be going through grief and we are patient. And that's why the attribute of patient, the quality of patient is so much loved and liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is rewarded heavily by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because one is feeling the pain, one is feeling the sadness and grief or the difficulty, but he is still not lamenting every morning, telling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why did you do that to me? Another lesson is, even when we fully trust Allah's help, we still have to go through all the struggles of our tests. This life is not a life of comfort and ease. Although we try to buy the comfort and ease for us, this life is our test. This is the examination hall that we have to sit down and give the whole, exam within the certain time, within time limits. And this is exactly what this life is. Although we as a Muslim must fully trust Allah that whatever He has put on us, at the end the result will be better. It will be, if we go through it and if we pass this exam, it will bring us more promotion. Isn't the same in this world? We go through difficult exams and it brings us more promotion and more blessings. And the last but not least is that every time we go through any tests or trials in our life, at least we should remember Maryam alayhi salam, a woman just like us. Her patience and her grace it was, opposite her, what she was going through, the humiliation, the pain, the confusion, the shock, all those things, the mental and physical pain that she was going through. Yet her patience and grace was immense, that Allah made her a woman of first woman to enter the Jannah. May Allah make us among those to meet her and ask herself, ourselves, all the things that she has to tell us, inshallah. Okay. Now we'll start today's lesson. Now, this surah was sent down at the time when the persecuted Muslims of Mecca were going to migrate to Christian kingdom, Abyssinia, and that they may present before the Christians the true creed about Prophet Isa alayhi salam. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them extra information about Isa alayhi salam so that they are well equipped when they reach Abyssinia. The migrant in Abyssinia told the king, and his name was Najashi, he was called Najashi, how Islam sees Jesus alayhi salam as a mighty messenger of God and not the son of God. This shows that the Muslims under no circumstances should conceal the truth of Qur'an. Whatever Qur'an says, we should not try to make it round and smooth talking or whatever. Whatever the Quran says, we should spell it out and trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It highlights their moral courage and trust in Allah that they recited this address in front of, in the royal court, at their most critical moment. What was the most critical moment? Why were they most critical? Because Quraysh back in Mecca sent two of their representatives and they were asking King Najashi to hand them over the migrant, and they were like accusing them of leaving their religion, neither taking the Najashi's Christian religion. They have invented their own religion. So here Najashi was interested because he was a fair king. And he was satisfied when the migrant told them about their religion. But then the two representatives of Quraysh went to Najashi and said, do you know what they talk about Isa alayhi salam? Do you know what they talk about Jesus? They don't see him as son of God. And now he called them again and asked them this question. And this was a very critical time. He could get angry. So they indeed were faced with real threat because they had a clear Islamic criticism they were criticizing the basic articles of Christian faith, the basic pillar, the main pillar of Christian faith, that Jesus is the Son of God. They are criticizing it and they're rejecting it. It might turn the king against them, and he might turn them over to the Quraysh men who came to ask the king to hand them over. But in spite of all this, the migrant presented the whole truth before the king with the least hesitation. And what happened at the end? The king agreed with Qur'an. He was crying and he agreed with Qur'an, and he said that I will not hand you over to anybody, and you stay in my land and you are safe here. So that is the background of today's lesson. Inshallah, we will go through our ayah 41 to 50, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. واذكر في الكتاب إبراهيم إنه كان صديقا نبيا إذ قال لأبيه يا أبت لما تعبد ما لا يسمع ولا يبصر ولا يغني عنك شيئا يا أبت إني قد جاءني من العلم ما لم يأتك فاتبعني أهدك صراطا سويا يا أبت لا تعبد الشيطان إن الشيطان كان للرحمن عصيا يا أبت إني أخاف أن يمسك عذاب من الرحمن فتكون للشيطان وليا قال أرغيب أنت عن آلهتي يا إبراهيم لئن لم تنتهي لأرجمنك واهجرني مليا قال سلام عليك سأستغفر لك ربي إنه كان بي حفيا وأعتزلكم وما تدعون من دون الله وأدعو ربي عسى ألا أكون بدعاء ربي شقيا فلما اعتزلهم وما يعبدون من دون الله وهبنا له إسحاق ويعقوب وكل جعلنا نبيا ووهبنا لهم من رحمتنا وجعلنا لهم لسان صديق عليا ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Okay, and relate in this book the story of Ibrahim. Indeed, he was a righteous man and a prophet. Remind them of the time when he said to his father, Dear father, Ya Abati, why do you worship those things which do not hear, nor see, nor avail you anything? Dear father, I have received that knowledge which you have not got. So you should follow me and I will guide you on the right way. Dear father, do not serve Shaitan, for Shaitan is disobedient to the merciful. Do not serve Shaitan or do not follow Shaitan is more appropriate. Do not follow Shaitan. You know, over the history of mankind, when Shaitan comes and whisper, people do not follow Shaitan directly. People do not worship Shaitan directly. We will find that people curse Shaitan and follow him at the same time, because his whispering is so slimy, and he would say things in such a way that people would think they are doing the right thing. And they're blindly following him, following and obeying his whispering. So basically, they are, figuratively, you can call, they are worshipping the Shaitan. may Allah save us from the whispering of shaitan, make him away from us as far as he has made his east and west far away. Another thing, okay, we finish this. I'm afraid of the punishment that can touch you from the God, from the All-Merciful, and you become Satan's companion. Okay, see the way Ibrahim alayhi salam is addressing his father. Look at the most critical criticism that Ibrahim alayhi salam is doing, but he is using the most respectful way of addressing his father. Ya abati, oh my dear father. And the rest of the ayat also are full of respect. And this is one of the most important tools in giving da'wah, is that we mustn't have, even when we are among Muslims, the most harsh attitude we can create for ourselves is when we are giving da'wah to our own Muslims. We become haram and halal. No, 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 this is haram. You know that, this is haram. You know, you're not allowed to do that. This is the most, what happened is the other person would have would create a shield of defense around him, and he's not listening to you. So the best is to give examples in the most soft and beautiful way. You know, shall I tell you something which might be beneficial to you? You know, and then the other person will be, yeah, go on. So, you know, I've learned in my research in my search in you know, in becoming a student of Islam. I'm learning Islam. I've learned this. So this is also in this ayah we learn the technique of giving dawah. How did his father reply? His father replied, "O Ibrahim, have you renounced my deities?" Or in other words, you can say, you have no desire, you have no love, you have no respect for my deities. Why did he say my deities? He was the leader of the temple, and one of his main profession was that he used to carve the idols, and it was at that time a very sought after profession, very highly paid profession. If you do not desist from this, I will stone you to death. So get away from me forever. Look at the harsh way the Prophet Ibrahim's father, his name was Azar, was you know, reacting to him, even with his most soft attitude. And this is also one of the thing that I'm sure we have some of the sisters. I know we have some of the sisters who have become Muslim in their adulthood, and they had the choice, you know, and they took Islam and the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they might be struggling for years and years to give da'wah to their parents. One of the most difficult da'wah is your own, very own, and parents come under it. It's one of the most difficult da'wah is parents. I remember I am born in a Muslim household, but I remember giving dawah to my father on certain things, and I never did it directly to him. I always had somebody sitting and asking me a question. I would ask people, my cousins and my sibling, you ask me a question in front of dad and I'll answer you. And dad used to listen to it quietly, but very intently. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive his shortcomings and bless his grave, and may we meet in Jannah. And all of your parents who are deceased now. Okay, so Ibrahim alayhi salam replied, I bid farewell to you. I will pray to my Lord to forgive you. Because he can't change him, so he is now asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala indirectly. He is telling to his father, he's saying, salam to you. I still send peace to you. I will never curse you. Salam to you, and I will still ask your forgiveness, for he is very kind to me. Who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I forsake all of you as well as those whom you invoke instead of Allah. I will invoke my Lord alone. I do not hope that I shall not fail to gain my object by invoking my Lord. Here, Ibrahim alayhi salam is making clear differentiation between their religion and his religion. Again, this is the style of dawah. A Dai must never be unsure of what he's preaching. A Dai should always be solid sure of the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his commands, and the wisdom of in every command that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on us, put on us. Every command has tons of wisdom for us. Maybe we might not be able to see it. What's the point of going up and down for salah? We might be. I asked my mother, I asked my sisters, my family, why should I pray? I don't see it very beneficial. The answer is that Allah has designed it for you and it is beneficial. You might not be able to see it. Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam made differentiation between his religion and their religion, and at the end he said, I will never be disappointed with after worshipping my God. You will be disappointed at the end, but I will never be disappointed after worshipping my God. Okay. Now, why Ibrahim alayhi salam has to leave his parents' house? It's a long story. It's a beautiful story. It's a story full of lessons. I would really invite you, sisters, when you have time off, please do read the seerahs of different prophets. And Ibrahim alayhi salam and Musa alayhi salam are the two prophets that are packed with lessons for us, and that's why they are mentioned so many times in Qur'an. Now, Ibrahim alayhi salam was born in the house of the head of the temple and the idol maker, and that's why, and it was a very well-off house, because you can imagine how much his father was earning from these two jobs. But Ibrahim alayhi salam, right from the little child, he just would not agree with their religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala picked him to become this mighty messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and his nature was to reject anybody other than God, other than Allah. And he discovered Allah himself by looking at the stars and sun and moon and nature, and he knew that there is a creator who has made these things and me as well. So he knew there is a creator. And when he see his people worshipping stone-made idols, he used to think, they're crazy. Why are they doing it? So one day, just to make his point clear, he used to ask them and they used to shut him up. So one day he went to the temple while they were all celebrating outside, and he broke all the idols. And they discovered at the end that it was him, and they created a huge big pit of fire, and they throw him in that fire. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that fire cool. And he stayed there for a number of days, because the fire, for outside people, the fire was so big that it was not cooling down in an hour or so. It took good few days to cool down, and they thought that Ibrahim alayhi salam must be now just ash in there. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made that fire cool, and later Ibrahim alayhi salam told that those were the most peaceful days of his life. When he was in the fire, Allah made it the most peaceful time, and he worshipped Allah day in and day out. He worshipped Allah night and day, and Allah provided for him all the facility that humans need in that pit of fire. Inshallah, we go to from 51 to 58. And this is mention of different prophets. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now mentioning different prophets, and the address is now to, I must say that the previous address was of, you know, for the new Muslims as well, because Ibrahim alayhis salam, how Ibrahim alayhis salam stood for the truth. But it was also for the Meccans, the polytheist Meccans, because they followed Ibrahim alayhis salam. They saw they see Ibrahim alayhis salam as their religious leader, and they were very proud to be his descendant. They were still doing the Hajj and Umrah, but totally wrong way. You know, they weren't following the right rules and the way Ibrahim alayhis salam did. But they had huge respect and felt very proud that they are descendant of Ibrahim alayhis salam. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning the whole story of Ibrahim alayhis salam, how he left his house. The person that you take so high, how he left his house full of idols. He rejected those idols and he trust in one God, in one true God. And he followed that command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning few prophets, and we start with the Prophet Musa, and mention in this book, I think I missed 49 and 50. Accordingly, when he left those people and their deities beside Allah, we granted to him descendant like Ishaq and Yaqub, and we made each of them a prophet, and we bestowed on them our mercy, and we blessed them with the true high renown. And this is the story of Ibrahim alayhis salam ending. And now we have Musa alayhis salam, and mentioned in this book, Moses, he was a chosen person, and he was a messenger prophet. What is a messenger prophet? A messenger is in Arabic, a messenger is called a Rasul, okay? And it actually is, you can call anybody who is giving a message to another person. It is used for ambassadors, envoys, any type of messengers, representatives of companies, firms. Quran has used this title for angels as well, because angels were giving message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Quran has picked special people Allah has picked special people to become his messengers as well. What is prophet? Prophet in Arabic is called Nabi. A Nabi is literally, it means the one who brings news, or the one who is high in rank, or the one who shows the way. This title is used for the prophet in all three senses. Thus, Musa alayhi salam was a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because he was of high rank, who gave news from Allah and showed the right way to the people. And it wasn't just Musa alayhi salam, all the prophets did the same thing as well. We called him from the right side of the Tur and honored him with a secret talk, and we made his brother Aaron a prophet and gave to him as an assistant. We call him from the right side of the Tur. Now, Tur is a very famous mountain. Tur, you also call it Sinai. It rises in Syria between Midian and Egypt. And remember, the Prophet Musa al-Islam left Egypt and was going towards Palestine and passed by Midian. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given this mountain a very special position in many ways. And here, Prophet Musa alayhi salam, when he left Egypt and was traveling when he reached Midian, he was traveling in Midian, the mountain when he approached Tur, it was the mountain was standing on his right side. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that, oh, the mountain was on your right side and I honored you with the talk. What the talk was, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him, he saw a fire and he tell his family, hold on a minute, I will go and get some fire for you to keep us warm, or at least they can tell us the way. And there Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked to him and he became the prophet. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him there and then that you have to go to Pharaoh and you have to preach my message to him. That wasn't an easy job. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning Musa alayhi salam here to the people who will be going to Abyssinia. Remember, this surah came before they even knew they're going to travel to Abyssinia. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling them that you will have a kind-hearted and just king to tell the truth, whereas Musa alayhi salam had Fir'aun to tell the truth. And then we carry on to Ismail alayhi salam and make a mention in this book of Ismail. He was true to his promise and was a messenger prophet. He enjoined his people to offer salat and give zakat, and his Lord was well pleased with him. Now, Ismail alayhi salam occupies a place of honor where keeping a promise is concerned, and he stood by his promise, whether made to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or whether made to human beings. He fulfilled his promise to Allah that he would offer himself for sacrifice when Allah asked his father that you have to sacrifice your son, and he told Ismail, and Ismail promised that he will obey the commands of his Lord. He kept that promise. So when the time came, he stood by his promise and he laid himself down for the sacrifice. Once when he was a grown-up man, he promised to meet a man at an appointed place and time. The man did not turn up at that time or that place, and Ismail alayhi salam waited for him in that place for 3 days. For 3 days he waited to keep his promise. What is the importance of keeping one's promise? Fulfillment of a promise is a distinctive trait of character of prophets and pious people, and it is normal code of conduct with all decent people. This is in all religions. Keeping promise is classified as high attribute and good character. May Allah make us among those who can keep promise. Breaking of a promise, on the other hand, is a habit of wicked and mean and liar people. So may Allah save us from that. If we have made a promise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the scholars says that it is mandatory on us, it is compulsory on us to keep that promise. And if we break it, we have to give penalty for it. Kafara. Whereas if we have made a promise to human being, we must, with all our efforts, to fulfill that promise. But with any good reason, if we could not do it, there is a good reason, then we ask Allah's mercy on us. This is how important promise is. And then he said, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned another good character of Ismail alayhi salam, that he enjoined his people, his family, his community to give salat and to say salah and give zakah. A reformer, a da'i and a reformer, especially a reformer, must begin his mission within his own family. A special attribute of Ismail alayhi salam is that he used to direct his family members to offer prayers and pay obligatory charity. This is it was important, and this is also one of the lessons for us, that we must not neglect our families. We must, in the most kind and nice way, remind them of the obligations of our Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command of offering prayers, keeping promise, and giving zakah. I would like to stop only for a couple of minutes because there is a lot for me to cover today, and we just have very little time. What do you think the state of our ummah is now with keeping promise, saying salah, and giving zakah? Anybody want to mention how today's Muslims are doing with these three high characteristics? Anybody want to give any just their own, whatever they think? No? Okay, I don't have much time.
I'll just add.
Okay, go on.
I'll
Go
just
on.
add quickly. I don't think nowadays people are keeping their promises,
No.
and nor they are that good and punctual with salahs. There are some people who do that, but I think it's limited. The numbers are limited, so we need to work towards it.
A lot of work need to be done in salah. Salah comes first in neglect in the ummah today. Keeping promise comes second. But the highest is in good is that people pay charity. People pay a lot of charity even in today's time. People pay more charity than they have ever paid before. So paying charity is becoming better, even when we are very materialistic and we are only concerned with dunya. People are paying more charity. Muslims are paying more charity. When it comes to salah, they are the worst. A huge percentage of Muslim ummah are neglectful with their salah, and in keeping promise is between them and Allah, but it's not that good. Okay, we carry on with the mention of Idris alayhi salam, and make a mention in this book of Idris. He was a righteous man and a prophet, and we had raised him to high position. Now, Idris alayhi salam lived 100 years before Nuh alayhi salam, and he was among his ancestors, Nuh alayhi salam's ancestor. He was the first prophet after Adam alayhi salam. So after Adam, the first prophet was Idris alayhi salam, and Allah bestowed upon him 30 books. There was a lot of commandments going down to Idris alayhi salam to follow. Idris alayhi salam was the first man who was given the knowledge of astrology and mathematics through a miracle. He was also the first man who learned how to write with a pen, and also the first who invented stitching of cloth. He was very, very clever man, and he invented the cloth himself. How to weave it. People used to wear animal skins instead of cloth before his time. He also invented measurement tools for the first time. So he made tools himself as being a blacksmith, ironmonger. And he made weapons. He made weapons himself, and he made his people to make weapons, and they use it in the holy wars that they had in his time. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about Idris alayhi salam, and we raised him to a high place. It means that he was granted a special position among prophets and was close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the messengers on whom Allah bestowed his favor. They were from the descendant of Adam and from the seed of those whom we carried in the ark with Nuh, and from the seed of Ibrahim and of Israel. Israel was the son of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam. His title was Israel. Israel means the one who worship Allah a lot. They were among those people whom we guided aright and made our chosen ones. They were so tender-hearted that when the revelation of merciful of Allah were recited to them, they fell down prostrate in a state of weeping. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned some of his mighty messengers to the new Muslims and the people who will be migrating to Abyssinia to learn the seerah. This was a sort of a way to tell people to learn the seerah of these chosen men of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had a lot of rejections and objections and trials and tests in their lives as well. And this gives a sort of a moral support to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam at this very, very difficult time in his life as well. Now from ayah 59, the address is towards the Meccans, the polytheists, the non-believers. Then there came after them those degenerate people who lost their salat and followed their lust. So not only they lost their salah, they followed their lust. What does that mean, followed their lust? This was the inevitable result of the loss of the connection with Allah. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned salah first and then lust, is that lack of salah brings lots of problems. So lack of a regular connection with Allah brings lots of problem. It's much easier for shaitan to whisper and to make them their slave. So they shall soon encounter the consequences of their deviation. However, those who repent and believe and do righteous deed will enter the garden, and they will not be wronged in the least. They will have those everlasting gardens with the merciful, with Allah, which the merciful has promised to his servant, while yet they have not seen them, and most surely that promise shall be fulfilled. Nobody has seen the gardens of paradise, but we all know that Allah never fails in his promise. So, and if Allah said you will be happy, we will be happy, inshallah. May Allah make us among those to be together in the gardens of paradise. This address first is for the Meccans, who call themselves the descendant of Ibrahim alayhi salam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you've lost all the type of worship that Ibrahim was doing, and you become so easy prey for shaitan, because your connection with God was gone, finished, there wasn't any. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give glad tidings to the people who were going through the difficult time and being patient. There they will not hear any idle talk, but only what shall be good and sensible, and they will get their provision regularly in the morning and evening. They don't have to go to work, they will get their food. There won't be any vulgar talk, there won't be any lies. Can you imagine how many lies we hear all the time? You open, the corona crisis, it is so much humble jumble chaos. One minute they're saying put the mask on, the next minute they're saying don't put the mask on. One minute they're saying to sit at home and do your work from home. Next minute they're saying we put the red list people now clear. There is so much confusion and so much misunderstanding and so much lying as well. I'm sure there is plenty of lying. I mean, I'm not being scared or hesitant to say that on air, even though I obey all the rules and regulation of this country, and I abide and after my own religion, and my own country. This country has a very special place in my heart. It keeps me, it's giving me shelter here. It's giving me all the good things that I need in this life. And most of all, it is making me, I'm free to talk about my religion, and that's the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet I have lots of objection of different governments. Okay, coming back to Quran. Okay, that is the garden which we will give as an inheritance to that one of our servant who leads a pious life. So this is a glad tiding for the people who were going through very difficult time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reassuring them with the gardens of paradise. Now, O Muhammad, we do not come down save at the bidding of your Lord. That angels are talking to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, saying that we do not come down save at the bidding of your Lord. To him belongs all that is before us and all that is behind us and all that lies between, and your Lord is never forgetful. He is the Lord of the heavens and the Lord of the earth and of all that is between them, to serve him and be steadfast in his service. Do you know of any other being equal in his rank to him? Now these angels, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but in a way that angels are talking to him. Allah is the only deity. Do you know any other deity beside him? If there is none, and you know that there is none, then you do not have any alternative but to serve him and obey his commands. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this message is both for the Muslims, for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and for the people who reject the one true God. Man says, what after I am once dead? Shall I again be brought to life? Now here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually using the word man says, but these were the Meccans who were asking, who were used to say to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what after we die? Shall we again be brought to life? Does not the man remember that we made him at first when he was nothing? By your Lord, we will muster them and the Satans along with them. We muster them and the Satans along with them. Satans are the leaders who persuade the wicked people to enjoy themselves in this worldly life, for there is no life in the hereafter where they shall have to present themselves or to anybody, let alone to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the whispering that angels, the shaitans do. Then we will gather them around hell and throw them down on their knees. Then we will pick out from every band each one of those who had been most rebellious against the merciful. Then we know very well which of them deserve most to be thrown into hell. And there is none of you who will not be presented before the confines of hell. This means, and there is none of you who will not be presented before the confines of hell. On the authority of Abu Sumayya, radiyallahu anha, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, everybody, whether he is pious or sinner, will enter hell. However, it will cool down for the pious, just like Namrud fire cooled down for Ibrahim alayhi salam, and the believers will be taken to paradise. Both hell and paradise will be shown to people during the judgment process. This is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the hadith of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that everybody will go through hell. So those who do not belong to hell will know what they have saved from. And on the day of judgment, both hell and paradise will be shown to the people. So those who are losing it will know what they're going to lose, and those who are saved from hell will know what they are saved from. May Allah save us from the hell, and may Allah unite us in Jannah. When our plan, okay, no, where? Then we know, okay. And for this is a settled decree. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, this is decreed by me, which your Lord will bring in force. Then we will deliver those who were pious in this world and will have the transgressor there on their knees. When our plan, revelation are recited to them, the disbelievers say to the believers, tell us which of the two of our parties is in a better condition and has grander meetings, and how many a generation have we destroyed before them who had more abundant riches than they have. Say to them, the merciful gives respite to the one who falls into deviation up to the time when such people see that thing which they had been threatened, the ward, the adhab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, people of Meccans used to say to Muslims, and specifically to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that compare yourself. Who's got more money? Who is living lavishly? Who's got more sons? Who's got more trade? Who's got more second, third, fourth houses? They used to all have their weekend houses in Taif, holiday houses in Taif. So they were comparing the luxuries of the world that Allah has bestowed upon them with you know, very little that at that time Muslim had. And they used to say that who is more loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you or us? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in return say that wait till you get my punishment. And then Allah described all this punishment. Cutting the time short, we now go to the last chapter of this surah. Now comes the message of Tawheed is also reinforced. The doctrine of Tawheed is reinforced. They say that the merciful has adopted a son. What an absurd thing that you have invented. It is well nigh that the heavens might crack and the earth split and the mountains crumble down at this hideous thing that they should ascribe a son to the merciful, to Ar-Rahman. It does not behove the merciful to adopt a son. All those who are in the heavens and the earth are going to be presented before him, before Allah, as servants, for he has encircled them and kept a strict account of them. Everyone shall be presented before him individually on the day of resurrection. Most surely the time is coming near when the merciful, the Rahman, will fill the hearts with the love of those who have believed and are doing righteous works. Straight after the people who rejected Tawheed, now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's last address is, and his attention is towards the Muslim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is promising them, most surely the time is coming near when the merciful will fill the hearts with love of those who have believed and are doing righteous work. So, O Muhammad, we have made this Quran easy and sent it down in your tongue so that you should give good news to the pious and warn the people who are rejecting, obdurate people. We have destroyed many a people before them. Do you find any trace of them, or do you hear any whisper from anywhere? آخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. The last but not least addressed, this is to comfort the righteous people who were being persecuted and insulted in the streets of Mecca. They are being assured that the time is coming near when the people will honor and love them because of their righteous deeds and good conduct. Hearts will be attracted towards them, and the world will hold them high in esteem. And this will happen according to a universal principle. Those who are wicked, proud, and haughty, and try to rule over the people with falsehood and hypocrisy can never captivate the hearts of the people. On the other hand, those who invite the people to the right way with truth, honesty, sincerity, and good conduct succeed in winning their hearts in the end, even though at first they might have to face the indifferences and opposition of dishonest people. These are the notes from one of the Tafseer, and I thought that instead of saying it in my words, they were so clear, and I just read it to you. The last ayah is packed with lessons of dawah, that we must not, become sad. We are sad if people are not listening, and if our own families are not listening. We are sad, but we should never be hopeless. There's always hope. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you hold on to the rope of Allah, trust of Allah, and carry on doing the right thing and carry on spreading the truth. And that's all for today. 2 minutes over, I think.